Okay, welcome back everyone. Today we're going to focus on working on the hedgerows. We left off last time, I believe we were just talking about putting the pegs in and doing the removable sections of the bocage. And I mentioned earlier that the next step of building up the hedgerows is actually putting the rock foundation in. Sometimes I don't use the rock foundation, sometimes I do, just depends what I'm going for. Happens that the photos in Barkmanns corner do show a rock foundation on the bocage, so I'm going to give that a shot. First thing you need to do is get a workable area, and we need some rocks. And for this, I've chosen to use natural rock. It's pre-colored. It's got some different variations in the coloring of the rocks. So they're mainly pale colors. That way they'll blend in nicely with the grass and won't be too sharp of a contrast. So I got my rocks. Next thing I need is a bowl. Steal that from the kitchen, and hopefully my wife won't notice that it's missing. So get a bowl, get your rocks. Avoid using any rocks that are really big, so if you see any really big ones, just pull them out. I try not to use small ones either, because I do want to have some crevices in the rocks, and they'll create shadow areas, and it'll give it more depth than it actually has. So next thing you need to do is take your glue, so like again, well bond and my mixture. I throw in some glue first, and then I use some glue as a topper. So I'm just going to do a very little bit right now. So don't dilute this either, because you want it to actually be quite pasty. So there's some glue, and I'll throw in some rocks. Just start with a little bit. If you need more rocks, if you find it's really pasty, you can add more. But I find it easier to just start with a small amount. So there's my rocks, there's my glue. Take those broken popsicle sticks that we broke yesterday when trying to drill holes, and use that as your stir stick. Break this bad as well. So just start mixing it up. You want to make sure you coat all of the rocks. Get them thoroughly mixed in there. Looks pretty good. Add more glue if necessary. I think I got enough for this small amount. There we go. So then it will look like that. It's all pasty. It will start to clump together. If it starts to stick to your stick, you know you got a good mixture. So take that, set that aside. It won't harden right away, so you got a few minutes to work with it. Pile them up. There you go. Set that aside. Now bring up your panel that you were working on. I'm going to bring, yes, this one here. Okay. Now, it just so happens the area I was working on yesterday continues this way, so I'm going to start right here. What you want to do is take 2 sticks, ideally, is the best thing to work with. So, and if you have plastic tools, you can use those as well. So I use a little spatula like this, and then I just use my stir stick. What you want to do is you want to take up some rock onto your spatula, bring it over, and the struts that we were using, or the structure sticks for the bocage, will work very well. I usually try to wedge the rocks onto those sticks. Now, this is a pretty frustrating process because stuff is not very sticky. It is sticky enough to stick to your stick, but it doesn't like to stay up on the raised edges. Sorry. So what I do is I get about stick width worth of rocks, and then I just start using my fingers and placing them in. Now if you press down, it will stick into the foam, the Oasis foam, and that will help it stay put. And the best thing about this is, like all my work, it doesn't need to be perfect. Stick it on there. The main thing is that you don't want to have any huge gaps in the rocks. You can have some, but you don't want to have any massive gaps. Show you the other side here. You can see that. You get some more here. It's a bit of a messy process. Your fingers do get a little sticky, but in the end, the effect's well worth it. and it's just white glue, so it washes off fairly easily. Now I do cover the crest of the hedgerow, but you do not need to cover the entire raised section. Some of them are falling down, as you can see. They'll fall into the flats. That's fine. You're going to have static grass and clump foliage covering most of this anyways. So really this is just a foundation material. So just leave it as such. See that a little bit better. It's right there. So it is falling down over the edge, which is fine. There's a little gap there. Same thing on the other side, a little gap. Avoid going over the edge. Keep your boundaries intact. When your pieces slide together, you don't want to have a gap created by a rock. The top, keep it relatively flat. Don't mount it way up, because the higher that is, the less surface area you're going to have to attach the foliage later. But and you can see it's all white, and it will look almost like the rocks are peeling. That's fine, because the beauty of the weld bond glue is that it dries completely clear, and it actually gives a little bit of a glaze finish. So when you're done, it's going to look something like this. And you can see here, that's not going anywhere. I mean, you can hit that with your finger. Obviously a little piece chipped off, but that's okay. The little rocks will fall off, but that's, I mean, I'm hammering with my fingers. So once the clump foliage gets on top of that, and then you bring your static grass right up to it, it's going to look really sharp. You can actually stick some static grass coming through the holes if you want. It'll give you even a nicer effect. Over here I actually chose to put in a rock wall, and I made this with smaller rock in a little template that I made, and I will show you that as well if anyone's interested. But you can see here, it gives you a nice little effect, and once I get the clump foliage on, you're only going to see a very small row of the rocks, and the grass is going to come up. So it looks really predominant in the image right now, and I mean, it's obviously the main focal point of this board, but once everything gets blended together, you'll notice the rocks in glancing, but you're not going to draw your attention directly to them. And that's really the thing that I go for in most of my boards, is I want everything to look like it goes together. I want you to glance over and be like, wow, that's a great terrain piece, but I don't want you to go, oh, those rocks are really gaudy, or they stick out too much. So they are a focal point right now, but once everything gets blended together, you won't be paying as much attention to them. You can see here that I've tidied the edge up as well. Just sort of have it look like it goes off into the distance, which it does. There won't actually be a board there, but you can give the illusion that it does continue. So that is the rock foundation. If you have any questions about that, just fire them on the forum or contact me directly via email. I can give you more images of that. That was kind of a quick demo, but very simple to do. You can use real rock, you can use kitty litter. You're not going to get the variation in kitty litter, but you can use it. You can use sand if you want to go a smaller grade of stone. You can do that, or you can just use ballast and paint it. This is just more convenient. You can see there's great color variation in there, and no painting required. And like I said, it's not going anywhere when you get gameplay. It does increase the weight of it, but you don't want your boards moving anyway. So I like it because once they're down, they're not sliding around. Just the excess weight does help it stay in place. So that's it for this one. So cheers.